Hello, hello, hello. It's Wednesday. It's 1:30. It's time for a little bit of wellness. And this is possibly the wellest word that there is that you don't yet know about. Or maybe you do. Okay, so I've got to spell it backwards as well. Eudaimonia. Eudaimonia. Okay. And eudynamic. Okay, so if you don't know what this word is, you soon will do, and it's really, really important. Okay, really important. Okay, because it does have a lot of bearing on whether or not more lockdown, continued lockdown, is going to be good or it's going to be an absolute disaster for the NHS in the making. Okay, so basically what I want to know is, and you can type down below in a minute, let's just see if I can share this. Can I share this? I want you to type down basically below how you are generally feeling in the lockdown. Okay, is it good? Is it bad? Not do you think lockdown is good or do you think lockdown is bad? It's like, how are you actually feeling because of lockdown? Are you feeling good or no different? So just put good, okay? If you always feel good, or is it bad? Okay, is it making you feeling? Is the loneliness getting to you? That sort of thing. So good or bad, or you can put no different as well. If you're going to be non-committal, okay. But let's just now share, and let me just share this with group. Going to the health lab. So basically, lockdown, is it making you feel good or bad? I really want to know. And let's just share this in the health lab. That's good. That's good. So now, the reason we're in lockdown, I mean, yeah, everyone knows, is because we want to try and stop COVID. But there seems to be two groups, okay? There seems to be two groups of epidemiologists, two bunch of doctors, basically. And, you know, you wouldn't know it really from the press about how divided, okay, people are on this. It's like no, lockdown's the only way. I mean, the science that lockdown is actually decreased. I mean, you could argue either way. You could say that this increased rate in coronavirus going into hospitals, you could say it's because lockdown and mask wearing, everything has obviously failed because most people are following the rules. And so if this is all just due to, you know, the 3 people outside, then it's not looking good. But also you could argue that because it's going up, this is time for harsher restrictions. But as I said, there's two groups of people. There is one group of epidemiologists and one group of people that are only focusing on reducing COVID. And there's a whole load of others that are actually looking at everything else that causes death and disease. Now, at the moment, yeah, maybe COVID or COVID-related death, but we must remember as well that all the COVID deaths that we see, they're not actually necessarily COVID deaths. They're people who've died within 28 days of having a positive COVID test, and COVID may have had nothing to do with the death. But we know that at the moment hospitals are, they're busy. Partly why they're so busy is because of the fact that so many people are often having to self-isolate because of a PCR test, but there's a lot of death going on, okay? And a group of people back at the beginning of this said, in order to decrease the death rate, we know that most of the people dying are dying because they've got heart disease, cancers, diabetes, well actually not even cancer, that wasn't actually showing up at the time. Heart disease, especially high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, okay, those were the big ones really. And a group of people said, look, we've got to get the health of the nation better. If we don't, this is going to be a problem. Every time there's a virus, it's going to be a big problem. We've got to focus on the health of the nation, okay? Whereas other people go, no, we've just got to decrease COVID and there's nothing you can do with all of this. And then when the first lockdown came, all the advisors saying, look, if we lock down now, we can expect to see more deaths in winter because there's going to be less actual immunity. So all we're doing is we're pushing off all the deaths till the next time, which is what's basically happened. But, so you have all the arguments, okay? But then, okay, you have, okay, I don't know why I pointed to that because I'm not onto it, but then you have well, how is it actually making people feel? Now, there's two types of people in the lockdown. Okay, some people, well, the lockdown, wearing a mask doesn't really bother them. I mean, it bothered me a little bit at first wearing a mask, but basically I'm not bothered. I'm pretty self-sufficient. Okay, I love reading, I love research, I love educating other people. I mean, social media, fantastic. So for me, and I can help people whether they're in the clinic or whether it's Zoom or whatever, email, phone, whatever. But I love reading, I love research, I love learning. I'm okay spending time with myself. So there's one group of people that basically lockdown, it's no problem. And also financially they're fine as well. So it's no problem. It's not a problem. But there's another group of people, it's absolutely killing them. Okay. Mental health is going through, there's loads of it. People we know in the NHS, post-traumatic stress disorder, 70% of the NHS workers on the front line are suffering with mental health problems. And it's not just them, it's everywhere. And also poverty, okay? The rich have got a lot richer and there's a lot more poor people, okay? Now this is where this comes in, okay? And this is really important. If you're 100% for the lockdown, you think that lockdowns are the only way, this may start shifting you to realize that, you know what? There's a bigger picture that's being ignored. And if we ignore this bigger picture, more people will die sooner and the NHS will be more crippled. Okay? Trying to save the NHS now and neglecting everything else is basically suicide. Okay? So, quick numbers. Okay, so 50, 60,000 people in the UK have died from COVID. 360,000 every year die from pretty much preventable diseases due to lifestyle. So that's 360,000. Okay, so that's more. Okay, 360,000. So that's like 5, 6, 7 times more than COVID every year. 7 times more. Much bigger number. Okay, and we know that, for instance, that vitamin D3, just going to keep on going on about this, if people started taking 2,000 international units of vitamin D3 a day, it would decrease cancer by 17%. And that's that's a lot of deaths, basically. Like 20,000 deaths or something a year would be decreased by just taking one vitamin. Okay, but this includes obesity, this is heart disease, this is preventable lifestyle diseases. And a lot of the common things between cancer, heart disease, diabetes, is that it's related in a lot of ways to too many calories, not enough nutrients. Okay, so if you decrease calories and increase nutrients, you're actually going to decrease this number, which is going to decrease the amount of stress on the NHS. Okay, but what's happened with the government? They said there's nothing you can do, carry on as usual. A third of the population have actually put on weight and are getting worse in health, nutritionally, metabolically. Okay, so this number's going to probably go up, although having said that, some people have actually started getting healthier and fitter, so maybe it might cancel each other out. Maybe it might, but maybe it won't, because the government keep on saying there's nothing you can do, there's nothing you can do, there's nothing you can do. But there is, because we already know that if you eat the wrong type of fats, worse COVID. If you're nutritionally deficient, more COVID. If you've still got high blood pressure, more COVID. If you've still got diabetes, more blood pressure. And these things can be reversed easily if you choose. Okay, if you choose. Now the next thing though is, what else causes inflammation? Well, it came out of research looking at why do some people, okay, they can get basically life, all kinds of bad shit can happen to them and they keep on getting up, whether it's business, whether it's life circumstances, like a friend dies, okay, they don't go to pieces, they're concerned, they help the family, but they don't go to pieces. They keep on going, you know. Dad dies, son dies, you know, wife dies. Yes, there's sad, yes, there's grieving, yes, but it doesn't put them down into a sinkhole. They come back up, or they keep going. And then why do some people keep going, why do some not? And why are some people, you know, so terribly alone, and some people aren't feeling so terribly alone, but they're in the same circumstances? And this starts answering the question, why can someone look healthy, eat healthily, exercise, but still they get a lifestyle-related disease. Why are they still susceptible to COVID, for instance? This answers so many of these, but he was so fit and healthy. It's how they think about themselves, how they feel about themselves, and their place in the world. Okay, so first of all, they looked at loneliness, okay? But people can also appear happy on the outside and say they're not alone. So there's more to this. But basically, when people feel alone, okay, when they feel depressed, things like this, their inside system shows a massive state of inflammation. Their immune cells are inflamed. This is ripe for COVID, basically. Ripe for COVID. And then they also found out that this inflammatory immune system, these inflammatory cells that can lead to heart disease, diabetes, all these markers was also shown by people who have post-traumatic stress, which is a lot of people apparently in the NHS at the moment. But they also find this in lots of other prolonged stressful circumstances, loneliness, depression. All of these things show inflammation on the inside of the body. But then, okay, they took a step further and they looked at there's a difference, because one of the things we've always known, or not always, but for a long time, is that people who have a purpose, okay, a driving purpose beyond themselves. So the reason they're living is not because they go out and they have a happy time, at a restaurant. So the sort of people that are living what's called hedonistically, okay, and then I'm not necessarily talking about, drinking lots and drugs. I'm just talking about people whose happiness comes from socializing, which is very important. Okay, it's very, very important. But they have to have that physical on it. They have to go out. They have to do this. They have to do this. It's about how they feel. It's about how they feel. Their happiness is about how they feel. Okay, if your happiness is about how you feel, okay, then you are actually just as prone to having inflammation on the inside of your body as people who are alone feel depressed. So you can feel completely not depressed at all, but if you're feeling isolated, if you're feeling how you feel about all of this, makes a big difference to the amount of inflammation in your body, whether you're going to set in with heart disease, whether you're going to be prone to get an inflammatory reaction from something like coronavirus. But if you have, instead of a hedonistic lifestyle, a eudaimonic lifestyle, that is, how you feel on the inside is not directly related to how you feel. So I'm not talking about a disease making you feel shit, okay? I'm talking about whether or not you actually feel happy, okay? No matter what, because if you're living your purpose, so for me, it's like what makes me happy is doing things like this, okay? But also what makes me happy is actually learning things as well. And so if the internet went down, I'd have to resort to going to the library, which would be difficult, but I'd find a book, okay? I'd find something to learn, some way to do something. I'd meditate. That's because I love meditating. I'm okay with that. But I have a purpose beyond me. And people who have some kind of purpose beyond them. So purpose doesn't have to be some great purpose like trying to help everyone that follows them, okay? It can be something as simple and as absolutely necessary as raising your children, okay? You are the mother, or you are the matriarch, or you're the patriarch of the family. Your family is what really matters. Looking after the family is what matters to you. So basically everything can be isolated, but as long as you've still got that, you're looking after your family and you can still do that, you're fine. So if you're feeling really bad, okay, if you're feeling really bad in this whole lockdown thing, then you're not alone, okay? A lot of other people do share this, and there are ways to actually decrease that loneliness, to decrease that inflammation on the inside of your body, okay? If you'd like help with that, then reach out. Actually, I'd suggest you just join my £5 detox challenge, because a lot of it is all about getting all this right up here, because the number one reason why people really can't keep weight off is because of everything that's going on up here. It's not to do so much with what you eat. So we teach a lot of simple stuff, but if you want a lot of help, then I can help put you in touch with other people to help as well. But we have to take this into consideration, because a lot of people, because of the lockdown, okay, because they're hedonistic or because of more loneliness, more other things, their nutrition is also not good. It's probably getting worse. And this is going to lead to more long-term problems, okay? And so at the very least, okay, yeah, it's fine talking about mental health, but a lot of mental health problems actually come from the nutrition in the food they're eating. And this makes people feel worse, which then makes them have poorer choices, which makes them feel worse, which gives them poorer choices. And it keeps on going round and round and round and round and round. And very often there's this massive disconnect between psychology and eating and nutrition and health and well-being. And it's all disconnected, but it all comes together. This is why I love the Magnificent Seven. This is why I work with people with the whole of their well-being, because their mental health could actually be nothing. Their mental health could be nothing more than the fact that they've got problems with the bowels or their spine. Okay. Whereas also their bowels and their spine could be a problem because of the mental health side of things. And it can often all start with purpose. Understanding, okay, yeah, I do have a better purpose. This is why I'm actually quite resilient, because I live for this. I don't live for how I feel. I live for all of this. So if you want some help, reach out. If you're struggling, reach out. We're here to help, okay? And please remember that there's more happening than, we've got to think of the 360,000, okay? And if we start thinking of these, then we're going to save a lot of people from COVID as well. A lot of people, but not just from COVID, but from the next virus and the next virus and the next virus. Because at the moment, I think this number's going to go up next year. It's going to go up. Unless we start changing the way we're thinking about this whole crisis and we get more people really working and inspiring more people to look after their health and well-being and take self-health responsibility. Stop blaming COVID for everything. Stop blaming the lockdown for everything. Yes, stop blaming the lockdown for everything, even though I'm just speaking a little bit against it. But stop blaming the government and Boris. Stop blaming everybody else for your health. Your health is more in control, or in your control, than you realize. It really is down to you. You can stop yourself from basically dying from COVID more than the vaccine can. I mean, the vaccine is going to obviously help, but if you actually do everything else as well, the vaccine is going to work better. Because that's one of the things that, again, they're not saying, is like, if you've got a slightly inflamed system and you have the vaccine, it could make you feel terrible and it might not work. If your microbiome is wrong, the vaccine's not very likely to work either. Apart from the mRNA vaccine, which actually the mRNA one, the Pfizer one, isn't actually a vaccine, by the way. It's actually a medical device rather than a vaccine. But it just gets called a vaccine because it's easy enough to think of it as one. So anyway, yeah, if you want the vaccine to really work as well as you can and have as little side effects as possible, make sure you're as healthy as possible before you have it. But if you do that, you're also going to decrease this, which is what the long-term goal has to be. If we really want to save the NHS, it's not about locking down now. It's about you changing now and inspiring other people to change now as well. Because if we don't, doesn't matter about COVID, the next thing is going to get us, or eventually we're all just going to die, okay? Or most of the population will die because of the fact that the government told them there's nothing they can do. But there is. So there's a better way. Look after yourselves. You've been magnificent. Live long and prosper in mind, body and spirit.